And now it's time for hot takes. And Craig, you get to go first.
Well, my hot take of the week comes from California. And we talked earlier this week about trying to pass laws that change the way in which our elections are conducted. Well, California did it back in 2010. 2010, they passed Proposition 14. And instead of having primaries in which the Democrats voted for Democrats and Republicans for Republicans, they decided to change that, which they started in 2014, so that there was only one ballot. This is not for presidential candidates, but it is for everybody else. One ballot that you could vote whoever you wanted to vote for who was running in the primary, Republican or Democrat. And they did. The rationale behind this was that the with more than 2-1 of the voters in California being Democrats, the Democrats would tend to cluster around perhaps somebody more progressive on the liberal side, Republicans more on the conservative side, and you didn't have anybody really in the middle. And the thought was, I guess, that this would produce candidates who could emerge from the middle of the pack. And most of the time, it's worked out okay. But yesterday, at the University of California, Berkeley, the Institute for Governmental Studies released a really interesting poll because so far, about 60 days or so to go before the election, primary election in California, there's not a lot of enthusiasm for any of the candidates. But what has happened is that there are only 2 Republicans running, and there are 8 Democrats running. And the 8 Democrats, even though there are more Democrats in the state, those 8 Democrats are all capturing some of the vote, leaving the 2 Republicans, the leading 2 candidates running for governor in the state of California, which if those 2 finished in number 1 and number 2, they would go into a general election with 2 Republicans in a basically a runoff and a statewide election for the governor's seat. Now, no one intended for that to happen. Now, Nancy Pelosi saying, "Don't worry, Democrats, this will never happen." It has happened on the other way around. Democrats actually have succeeded at having the top 2 candidates in some of the elections since this was enacted. But this was another solution in search of the problem, and they've ended up with a whole new set of problems. We'll have to see how it plays out come June in California.
Al?
First of all, I think Craig's hot take is really an important one because a lot of people supported that California reform. I think in the end, the Republicans are leading, but they're getting about 30% of the vote. So in the end, my guess is the Democrats will get a bunch of their minor candidates out and you'll get a Democrat in the race, but who knows? But my hot take is something that I saw in Politico, and I looked up a little bit about this morning, and that is Freedom House, which is an organization founded by Eleanor Roosevelt and Wendell Willkie, bipartisan organization to safeguard democracy in the country and and judge it in the world. Since 2002, has been putting out uh, a report card on democracies. And in the one that just came out, the United States is at the lowest level it's been since they started. They're down to 81 on the chart, and that's a 3-point drop. And that may from last year, and it may seem like it's not very much, but one of the authors of this report card said a change of 3 points or more is very rare. The speed with which American democracy is currently dismantled is unprecedented in modern history. And just by comparison, the European Union is 90, and we're at 81. Why did the United States lose points? If I listened to Fromm and Fuller for most of the year, but one is congressional dysfunction, and talked about the government shutdown, but in the way that the Congress is ceding power to Trump. Uh, the the second thing is the administration weakening all the anti-corruption safeguards. I mean, it took him about 30 seconds when he got in office to get rid of all the inspector generals. And then the third is something that we talk about every week, which is executive overreach. Uh, a lot of us were very concerned about the future of our democracy when Trump came in. And unfortunately, in the first year of his second term, he has made our fears very real. But the good news is that we have an election this fall, and as long as he doesn't cheat, we have a chance to put the brakes on the direction in which he is taking the country.
Well, thanks so much, guys. We'll see you next week.